Hello and welcome to the Daily Millwall for Monday, the 19th of April 2021. Today in Millwall News, we're going to start off with this, which is the Loan Watch column from news@den.co.uk. And every week they do a Loan Watch where they talk about what the Mill players currently out on loan have done in the weekend's games. So let's jump into this one. It says Mill Loan Watch, new position for attacker in Sutton win. Plus winger helps Barnet to rare win. Isaac Loffey was handed a new position on the left wing in Sutton's National League game at Altrincham on Saturday, and it paid off as the attacker set up the goal in a 4-0 win. Sutton responded to a recent wobble in their promotion challenge as they emphatically won for the first time in 5 games. Rob Milsom gave the South London side the lead in the 7th minute before Loffey raced down the left and found Donovan Wilson, who made it 2-0. Toby Show Silva had a third after the break, and Wilson got his second in the 65th minute. Sutton are second, a point behind top of the table Hartlepool, but with 3 games in hand. Sutton are 3 points ahead of Torquay in third. At the other end of the table, winger Sam Skeffington helped Barnet end a 12-game winless run as they defeated Aldershot 3-1 at home. Barnet are 13 points off safety and effectively bottom of the league after Dover's season was expunged. The Bees are unbeaten in 2 games since Skeffington joined, and under new boss Simon Bassey, only 2 out of 9 games out of 31 they have taken points from this season. They have got something wrong there. They didn't mention Alex Mitchell playing a blinder for Bromley, who, if you've watched yesterday's video, you can see that Bromley's new manager Andy Woodman were actually raving and ranting about how good Alex Mitchell was, and bigging up Scott Fitzgerald as well. But Barnet are not any points from safety because they are already safe, because there is no relegation from the conference. Apparently, they've scrapped it because the Conference North and Conference South seasons were capitulated. They were knocked on the head, so they were dissolved. So that means no clubs can come up from the Conference North, no clubs can come up from the Conference South. So that being the case, no clubs will go down from the Conference National. So there is no 13 points off safety. They're already safe. They're just playing out the season for pride, effectively, I assume. Yeah. So a little bit wrong there, New Zealand. A little bit wrong. And you didn't mention Alex Mitchell, so I'll give that column a 5 out of 10. Moving on, this is also from news@den.co.uk. It's more words from Gary Rowett. Mill boss on what impressed him most at Brentford, respecting league's integrity but learning for next season. Gary Rowett praised his players. Gary Rowett praised his players for their motivation and desire after they drew 0-0 at promotion chasing Brentford on Saturday, despite having little to play for. The Lions had the better chances. Scott Malone twice going close before John Daddy Varson couldn't reach Danny McNair's ball across the 6-yard box late on, while the Bees only had 1 shot on goal through Ivan Toney. Mill's realistic aim over the final 4 games is to match last season's 8th place finish. They are a point behind Mick McCarthy's Cardiff for around 7th. And you can see that on the... well, they're in 8th now. So they've got that wrong as well. The table's right there. Mill are in 9th, 59 points. Cardiff are in 8th, 60 points. And Reading, 67. Bit of a gap there. I'm pleased with the players because, again, it is a game we've got little to play for, Rowett said. We could come here and be demotivated or come here and question the desire of the players. But once again, we're competitive. We've drawn with Norwich twice, we've drawn with Brentford twice, we've drawn with Watford, Bournemouth. We've been very good in these types of games. The next little bit for us is something we're hoping to achieve next season. That's the challenge. If I can stand here at the end of the season and say we finished 8th, 9th, 10th or 11th, in truth, if it's not the top 6, it's not here or there in my mind. It's about learning what we need to learn. Of course it's about us finishing as high as we can, with as many points as we can, but for me it's more important to go into the summer knowing exactly what's required for next season. With that comes one or two moments in games when we have to try one or two different things. We did some of those things well today and other things we have to get better at. Rowe explained the change he made at Brentford as Ryan Woods came into the side for Billy Mitchell. Rowe said you could pick the same team for the last 4 games. What am I going to learn? So today Billy Mitchell came out. It wasn't Billy, it was just I wanted two passes in there with George Evans and Ryan Woods. I thought if we could get hold of that midfield battle, then we could get our wing backs higher and attack down the sides. We have to find one or two things out, and if we can get results along the way, fabulous. There's no pressure on us in terms of the integrity of the league. You always want to try to get results and win games. Do the best you can, which I thought we showed today. At the same time, you have to be a little bit selfish, and we have to find out one or two things ourselves that we can use next year. And thus it ends. There you go. Okay. And now we move on to this. This is from londonnewsonline.co.uk. This Mill boss Gary Rowett gives his opinion on European Superleague plans. Mill manager Gary Rowett has voiced his disapproval at plans for a European Superleague. 12 clubs announced yesterday that they had agreed to join the new competition. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City and Tottenham all announced they will be joining the European Super League. UEFA have threatened to throw those participating clubs out of their domestic competitions, as well as barring players from representing their country. Rowett told the South London Press, "My thoughts in the first instance is that it is maybe just a way for the big clubs to have a little bit more power when it comes to renegotiating certain things, whether it is the Champions League format or whatever it is. If you're talking about the big clubs breaking away, then suddenly not only have you lost the whole history of all the leagues up and down Europe, but you've also lost that meritocracy. Who defines who's the biggest club? Is it down to money? Is it down to fans? Is it down to history? How do you define it? I look at a club like Everton who have spent a lot of money on that new stadium and want to break into those areas. All of a sudden you're going to stop that. I just feel it goes against the grain of competitive nature of the divisions. Of course we know that money and power talks at the top end of the game. I can only speculate and imagine that is what it is about for the big teams, and either a greater share of the TV rights and being in the Champions League every season, rather than having to earn the right to get in it. It's a shame because you're going to stop the likes of Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon, rising up through the ranks and playing against a big team in the league. You're going to take away 5 or 6 big clubs, and in essence, it's going to change the whole look of the game, and therefore I will be completely against it. Well, there you go, but here's the thing. If you take those big 6 teams out of the league, they are big teams, and maybe some of them are not as big as they think they are. I'm looking at you, Tottenham. Some of them is not as big as they once were. I'm looking at you, Arsenal. But they are quite big teams, and if you take them out of the league, here's the thing. Everyone else moves up 6 places, don't they? Because here's what happens. This is from thesun.co.uk, and it says angry clubs want Big Six kicked out of Premier League, while some US owners don't understand relegation amid ESL formation. A number of angry clubs reportedly want these 6 European Super League breakaway sides to be kicked out of the Premier League immediately. The football world was rocked. Yeah, we've heard all about that. Let's just skip along here. It's a bit of a long story. Premier League chiefs are furious, and several of the other 14 teams in the top flight are allegedly wanting them to take action instantly. That is according to Sky Sports News reporter Kaveh Saloki, who says an unnamed board member of the Prem club told him, "This is not civil war, it's nuclear war." Some of the other 14 Premier League clubs who are not involved in this breakaway want the 6 breakaway clubs to be sanctioned immediately. They believe the sanctions should include suspension from this Premier League season. So some of these other 14 clubs are so unhappy at what is happening that they want these 6 clubs to be kicked out of the Premier League right now. One club owner said privately that he would be prepared to leave the Premier League if they had to. So he is saying, look, the riches on offer are so great, this is the future. Even if we were to be kicked out of the Premier League, we would still just focus on joining the new Super League. And free carries on. Several of these American owners, we are being told, still cannot understand why we have relegation in English football. The quote that is being used is that they just can't get their heads around the concept. So they're trying to create a closed shop. Isn't that funny? Boris Johnson slammed the move. Carrying on. I told you it was a long one, didn't I? So Borussia Dortmund have rejected the opportunity to join. And it says 5 clubs will be entitled to qualify every year, with the season running from August to May. All matches will be played in midweek slots, with the clubs insistent they will be able to continue to play in their domestic leagues and preserve the traditional domestic match calendar, which remains at the heart of the club game. Well, they can't if they get kicked out, can they? But a damning statement from the Premier League, La Liga and Serie A claimed that any club taking part will be banned from playing in any other competition at domestic, European or world level. The 20 clubs will be split into 2 groups of 10, playing 18 games, 9 home, 9 away, with the top 3 in each group qualifying automatically for the last 8 knockout stage. Hang on, how does that work? There's 2 groups of 10 and the top 3 in each group. That's 6. That's not a last 8 knocking stage. Oh, hang on, it carries on. Teams finishing 4th and 5th in each group will then play off to fill the final 2 knockout slots. Okay. Wow, okay. Damn. So Liverpool fans not happy there. Gary Neville's not happy. Rio Ferdinand's not happy. Jamie Carragher's not happy. A lot of people not happy. And that's the end of it there. But you can see these 6 teams could be being kicked out of the league, the Premier League. And as we've seen, Gary Rowett said about Everton. So this is what the league table looks like now. You've got, so those 6 teams are Man City, Man United, Chelsea in 5th, Liverpool in 6th, Tottenham in 7th, and Arsenal in 9th. So you see there, we've discussed Everton. So Everton in 8th. So if all of these 6 teams are kicked out, Everton, well, it's bad for if you're a Millwall fan, it's bad for you on one circumstance, because that would mean Leicester would win the league, or maybe even West Ham, because the league's not done yet. West Ham could win the Premier League if they kick these 6 teams out, although they have to expunge some of the results. So, but West Ham have done really badly against the top teams. I think probably at least worse than Leicester. So West Ham could win the Premier League this season. Can you believe that? Wow, I mean, but you see Everton, so it will be Leicester. Let's just say it is as it stands. It won't be, but so Leicester would be first, West Ham second, then Everton would be third. So everyone's moving on up, except for these 6 teams, because it seems their fans are really not happy about what's happening. And there's also talk that players who play for these 6 clubs will be banned from playing in the World Cup or playing in the Euros. So there won't be no Harry Kane at the World Cup. There won't these Sterling, he won't be there. All these players will be barred from playing for England. And you would imagine players for other national teams will be banned as well. So that could be beneficial for England. Because if we had to have an English 11 made up of players that don't include these 6 teams, how are we going to do? Are we going to do alright? Because a team like Chelsea is full of foreigners. Arsenal too. Man United, quite a few foreigners as well. So if we had to have a English team derived from players from the rest of the Premier League, how will we do? Will we do alright? So this is you're looking at the Premier League's table as it stands now. But what happens next season? What happens if those 6 teams are kicked out? So let's have a look at this. So this is a mock-up that someone's done if those teams are kicked out. So this is what the Premier League would look like. Aston Villa, Barnsley, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Palace, Everton, Fulham, Leeds, Leicester, Newcastle, Norwich, Sheffield, Southampton, Swansea, Watford, West Brom, West Ham and Wolves. That's the elite league in England now, or next season if these teams are kicked out. So there you go. But here, look at the so the league below that. The league that we would be in, and we could. This is winnable for the Millwall team. This is winnable. You got teams like Lincoln in there, Peterborough, Preston, Wycombe Wanderers still, Coventry, Blackpool, Blackburn Rovers, Hull City. This is, at the moment in the Championship, we're one of the smallest teams in terms of turnover, finances, that kind of thing. But if this is the league next season, that's pretty decent for Millwall. That's a winnable league for Millwall. This is a competitive league for Millwall. We could win this league next season. Millwall could. So this season we finish 8th, 9th, whatever. Gary doesn't care. He wanted to finish in 6th. Now he doesn't. He's sulking. But next season, we play in this league, football. This one here, that the guys mocked it up and said Football League Division 2. We get promoted from this league. We end up in the new Premier League with these big 6 wankers kicked out into the wilderness. So we, Millwall, in the new Premier League, which I think seems pretty more balanced and even, and not as wanky as it is currently, with all these global superstars. And it seems it's harking back to the old days of the 70s, when English football was top of the tree. So I mean, it's like a miracle for Millwall. This is fantastic news. We're going to have the new ground being built, or not new ground, but the work's done on the ground, and we're going to be in the new Premier League. That's going to be a fairer league. It's going to be amazing. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Millwall. So you take these six big clubs out, we've just been boosted up 6 places in the dominance hierarchy of football clubs in English football. We in our history, we tend to be yo-yoing between the second league and the third league. If you kick these 6 teams out and we move up 6 places, we're firmly in the middle of the second tier. That's the kind of level we're at. And if we don't really have to worry about being relegated to the third tier, because as long as we're well run and on the ball, we can push on and get promoted into this new look Premier League without these 6 traitors. And it's amazing, isn't it? Can you believe that? When you look at this Premier League that could exist next season, this is one that we can compete in. I can't see why not. Because if you take those 6 teams out with all these global superstars in them, and if we played them, we would get bad 6 times, twice, 12 times. We would get hardly any points from those 12 games against those 6 teams. But you look at this Premier League table. I'm not saying we would be contenders, but we would probably still be one of the favourites for relegation. But it's a different prospect. It's a closer call. It's competitive. It's not out of the realms of possibility of doing something in this league. When you take out those 12 games where you're going to get battered by the 6 big clubs. And there you go. So when the Brexit thing happened, Brexit means Brexit. It seems these 6 clubs they're Brexiting themselves from the Premier League. They're going to get kicked out, and everyone else is going to move up 6 places. And it's going to be fantastic for Millwall. It's going to be fantastic for any team that isn't one of these big six clubs. Everyone's moving on up. Good times are coming. Maybe to Millwall. Millwall in the new Premier League in 2022-23. Let's see it. Come on, Gary Wright. Set your sights and go and get it. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye for now.